Hey, Frank.
Hello.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the chat. I see the regulars here. Frank, this is your story. You just introduced me to this today. You want to kind of tell us about it?
Basically, the Moore's murders are, I believe it was five murders. I could be wrong, and it was all done on the Moors. Obviously, they lived in. If you go to the Moors now, even now, right, it's a tight village. If you know what I mean, Savage. Savage.
Um, yeah, audio issues. Working
Yeah.
on
Oh,
it.
yeah. Yeah.
I
Sorry.
was watching it today when you sent me that video. And I think it was five or
Don't
six.
worry. Don't worry. Yeah. So basically, the Moors murders is I believe it was five murders of children. I can't name the children, but there was five murders. It was between Ian Brady and Moira Hindley, and they were disgusting crimes. I know one young girl was even known as they call her the first snuff film. Obviously, it was more before her, but she was known as the first snuff. And oh, it's just disgusting. And um, four was found, one wasn't. And like Cheri said about the this crowd pick on them all, the reason they say it is because they believe that five was an amateur level compared to what actually happened, and one body was never retrieved, and that's where the saying comes from. And Ian Brady actually, right up until he died, even after the mom died, blackmailed the family, let me die, and I'll tell you where the body is. Do you want to take over, Savage?
Yeah, I have to like mute and unmute every time I gotta talk so I don't get that echo. But yeah, the first snuff one, I got my notes right here. I took a whole bunch of notes when you sent this to me. But she was the youngest victim. Hold on. Yeah, she was the youngest victim, and they really. She was 10 years old. Her name was Leslie Ann Downey, and there was like a 16-minute audio and video recording of what was happening to her, her crying, asking for her mom, um, just crying out to God, just, oh God, I'm so glad they didn't play that tape in the video. And yeah, that was what they are calling the first snuff video. And it really that particular murder out of the bunch really affected the locals like really strongly emotionally.
About the first snuff one, that affected you know, even the jury that convicted him. It was played to a jury, and that's where it was decided. No, this can't be released. This has to be sealed because I think, if I'm right, two members of the jury quit there and then. One of them committed suicide. I could be wrong on that, but that's what I'm sure I know from what I've looked up on it. Also, yeah, right.
But
But
from what
I'm
I'm hearing, the description of the tape, the audio and video, I can imagine that that's probably a true statement here.
oh, Savage, you what you're looking at the what you call it, the dialect of it.
No, not for the tape, but they mentioned it in the video that you sent me, and
Oh, okay.
they described it in the video enough to where they didn't go in detail, but you could get a real good picture in your head of what was going on.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, you can apparently get it on the internet, but you can't. It's banned. But people have apparently got hold of it and put dialogue out, and the dialogue itself's disgusting. But recently, not even that long back, it was just before Ian himself died. He died in, I think it was 2017, and people were saying, we've got the dialogue, we know what happened in that snuff film. But I'll tell you now, you don't know what happened because two members of the jury quit there and then. They refused to carry on with the case. One apparently committed suicide, and they was left with, they had to scrap the jury and redo it. And what's it called? I always say when it comes to things like this with child murders, one of the it was a young boy, blonde hair, glasses. Ian refused to
That's,
let any information. Sorry, go on.
you said young, blonde hair with glasses. Do you remember how old he was?
I think he was 5. I could be wrong, but I think he was 5.
Okay.
I know he never gave up his location, as in where he was buried. Is that the same boy you got?
Because I still got her, Leslie Ann, as their youngest victim. But that boy could have been one of the other two because in the 80s they came across they found out that there were at least two more victims from the 60s, and one of them was a boy. Let me look at the notes and see if he was 5. No, that boy was 12. But they also said that they had they suspected them of having more victims too, so it's possible.
They had, I think it was 5 victims that we know of, that we're sure of, and one of the obviously we think there was more because of if you read into the case, but there's one they would not disclose the location. Do you know what I mean? It's like if you look through the what's it called, the log of the crimes. Everywhere they said the bodies were, they found pictures of them posing on the bodies. Well, not on the bodies, on the graves, should I say? Do you know what I mean?
One of
This
the
young boy,
pictures.
get his name. I know he's young, glasses, blonde hair, and he's only a baby. He's only a baby. He's not 5, and they would not disclose his location. In fact, Ian Brady, right up until his death, negotiated his life for the burial site, as in, you let me commit suicide, I'll give you the uh, where the baby is, and they went to all these burial over. I think it was like definitely over ten different locations, and every single one was obviously a hoax.
And so manipulative. Okay, now for the victims, I'm also gonna note this is crazy because this like killer couple started out pretty young. She was 17 when they met, and he was 21. And their first victim was only a few months later, so she still would have been 17, maybe just turning 18. But for the victims that I have their first victim in 1963 as John Kilbride. And then a year later was Leslie Ann, the youngest one, the 10-year-old girl that they did the recording of. Then there's Edward Evans, and that's an interesting one. I want to hear your input on.
Is it Edward Evans? Is he the boy? Is he the one I'm on about?
He's not the 5-year-old boy, but that's the one where they actually had a third person involved in it, and that third
Okay,
person called the police on them.
okay, I'm with you.
Yeah, that's the one that got him caught. All right, and I also have there was a
Okay.
preteen neighbor that she did. They never ended up like killing her, but I think they tried to because she's the one that actually led the police to the bodies that were found in the moors, because the couple had taken her out there several times, but she had returned. So I don't know how that went, if they never intended to hurt her or if they did intend to hurt her. Then there's last two victims that they discovered were from the 60s. That was Pauline Reed and Keith Bennett. Pauline was 16 and Keith was
I
10.
think you. I think what you're saying, the young girl took them out to the moors because if I'm right, Ian and Moira both swore innocence, and then obviously they got caught through trying to get their brother-in-law involved, Moira's brother-in-law involved. They tried to get him involved in something, and he went straight to a phone box and called the police.
But he went after the murder was done and cleaned up. Okay, so
Yeah,
Ian and Myra were with Myra's brother-in-law, Edward, in that evening. And
yeah.
so they went to the house. This might be the 5-year-old boy that you know. No, this wouldn't be him.
No, 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 no.
Anyway,
Go on,
they went
go
to
on.
his house, to the couple's house, and the couple ended up killing somebody while Edward Smith, was there in the house with them, and they forced him to
Oh
help
no, no,
clean
no,
up.
no, no, no. The body was found there and then. He went to the phone box. He called the police, and the body was found. They tried to hide it somewhere. I believe it was in the wardrobe. I think,
Oh, crazy.
or something like that. They tried to hide it in the wardrobe because the police come as an ice cream man. I believe. I believe they come as an ice or a bread man. I say
Yeah,
ice cream or milkman, but back then it was all the same thing. If you know what I mean.
they did say in that part of the video that there was like a debate about what actually happened while Edward was at the house, because like Edward was telling one story and then Ian was telling another story, and then whatever Myra was saying kind of wasn't going along with both of them. So what actually happened at the house, who killed the person that night and all that, is kind of still up for debate, but they charged Ian and Myra with it.
It was known that Ian and Moira. It was known, as in there was always speculation, weird goings on, and I think Ian, even when he went to prison, he made like what's it called? Something admissions. It's called. He made something admissions that made him guilty. Moira, I believe, she admitted all guilt, just she didn't commit the crimes, if you know what I mean. And
She
what got
actually
Moira convicted was
didn't.
that tape that you're on about, do you know that tape, the snuff tape we're on about. That's what got her convicted.
For them mentioning that, and she also claimed that she helped with the crime, that she never actually killed or assaulted anyone involved. That was all Ian.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She admitted to all the crimes that had been presented, so there could have been more. She just admitted to the ones in front of her, but she said, "Oh, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I didn't do it." But the tape, and I've heard reconstructions. The reconstructions are disgusting, Savage. I'll tell you now, they are disgusting. But apparently, the reconstructions are nowhere near the original. The reconstructions, apparently, all they do is they repeat certain things that are said in it, and
Don't even
it's
think
like,
I would see that just from hearing descriptions of other stuff. And then the murder, the last one that they committed, where they got caught. Apparently, Ian said something like, "Oh, look, this is the messiest one ever," or whatever, because the room was just like covered with blood.
yeah. When they got caught, they literally just committed murder. Sent the brother-in-law down the road. I think it was to get the sister. to go and get a bag of chips or something soft like that. And he basically he got his sister. Well, he got the sister-in-law, the one he was engaged to be. He grabbed her and he says, "Listen, I need to tell you this." And he took her to the phone box. He told her what happened, and then he told the police what happened. And I think, if I'm right, when the police went, they went as either, and this could all be the same thing: the bread man, the milkman, or the ice cream man. And back then, I'm sure it was all the same thing. If you know what I mean.
Cheri, you seem to be really familiar with this case. Would you like to come up here too? Because you're over there throwing out all kinds of good facts.
Don't let Cheri up here. She smells like pepper. She smells, she smells like fresh flowers.
Oh, she said no.
Also, Sleuth Mum, you're supposed to be on holiday. Get out this chat.
You scared Cheri off, right?
No, Cheri, if you're there and if obviously I can't see the chat, but if you're there and you got the chat, sorry, if you got the knowledge, come up, of course.
Yeah, we almost saw Frank.
Almost. I keep knocking the cam, but luckily it's pointing at the ceiling.
Just make sure you knock the cam while you're leaning over it next time so we can see who you are. And make sure you're holding a fork so we know for sure that it's you. I,
uh,
I really want to play like a part of that video, but I don't know how that particular channel would react to someone sharing their content because the
what's
video
that?
was very interesting
Could you
and
not?
very well put together.
I'll talk to the audience while you screen record what you want and then stretch it a bit. Do you know what I mean? Like stretch the screen so it cuts their
That'll
shit off.
work. That'll work.
You do that then, and I'll answer questions from the audience. Cheri. Oh, I see Sleuth Mom is still in the audience. Block. Sleuth Mom's like, Frank, we almost saw you. Don't you worry. I will not let them see me until you come back from vacation with all your new OnlyFans. Now, has anyone got any questions in the audience, though, towards the case? I don't have Safari. Thanks, though. In the bushes, bummer. In the bushes, so if that's what you're into, what is your favourite type of beans? Come on, Cheri, on the case. Beans and sausage, though, just to answer. Elizabeth, poor sleuth. No, poor sleuth. No, she should be on vacation. Get out of here. Oh, towards the case. Yes, towards the case. Is anybody out there? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Sleuth Mom, if you're still there, can you ask questions, please? Because you're good at it. Ooh. I wanted Cheri to go. Bushies, I need you to ask questions. We're trying to keep it going. How long were they sentenced? Well, they was given life, no parole, no. You see, we do different. We do it different here. You don't get death sentence because of animal rights. No, you don't have the death sentence here since I think it was 1960 something, but that was pulled through till the 70s. But anyway, I was convicted after that, so they got life. Ian Brady was offered parole if he gave the child that we're on about young blonde boy, glasses. If he give his body location, he'd been offered parole, and he basically toyed with the family for years. This is where they am. This is where they am. And eventually, I think it was even as late as his mum died of cancer. And what they did was they did one last dig where Ian said it was, and basically it was all lies. I am like listening and playing a board game, so oh well, if you committed elsewhere, go elsewhere. Block. I can log into my laptop, be right back. Oh, we might have Cheri. It has been so long since I read about the case, I don't remember the details. Yeah, even looking, Bushy's even looking over the case just, I'm baffled by it because I heard things I hadn't heard before, but I know what I know. It's like the snuff. Hello? Is that you,
There's,
Savage? Hello?
yeah. There's a question right there, and after that, I'm just gonna play the video and we can talk about it because it's on BuzzFeed's channel, so I think they let people share their content as long as they're commenting.
Okay. Cheri might pop up as well. I think she said something about going to grab a laptop. So I'll let you play that. I'll mute myself now. You play that, and I'll keep an eye on the comments for you. Savage. Savage.
Yes,
Can you drop a link to Cheri privately, or can you drop it through
I
the
just
chat?
dropped it in the chat.
Hey, sorry.
I just dropped it in the chat.
Oh, sorry.
Clue for Liars. That sounds like a game I would really like to play because you got to
No,
play two, then you
game.
got to figure out
What
who's
that is?
lying at the same time. Extra challenging.
That's not a game. That is what they're doing right now. We're on holiday. Ooh. No, they're not on holiday. They are hiding Casey and Vicky White. Just tell the truth. We know where you are, sleuth mom. Thief.
Hi, Cheri. Welcome to the panel. Glad you came up. You seem like you know a lot about this case.
Hang on, I'm kind of technologically challenged.
Well, you're getting it because we can hear you.
Cheri, Cheri.
Let's try this. Does that work? Am I
Well,
echoing?
you're getting it because we can hear you.
Oh, cool.
You're fine.
Cheri, Cheri.
Let's try this. Does that work? Am I echoing?
Like something's repeating. Has someone got YouTube on?
And now I'm hearing an echo.
Someone got YouTube on the background. I bet sleuth mom.
Oh. Get rid of that. Okay. Is that better?
Yes, much better.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah, I had you on a tab to get the link, but I'm good. I'm good. How is everybody?
I'm good. Had a good weekend so far. Nice day hanging out with the grandbabies, watching them play in the pool. How about you?
I was actually recording my first video.
Yay, I'm so excited. I can't wait. I am so ready to see the first video.
Is this Cheri? Sorry. Is this YouTube or the OnlyFans you was telling me about?
It's the OnlyFans that you're not supposed to know or spread that.
Oh,
Yeah,
so-
no, this is
Yeah.
Frank, Sleuth Mom has a question. I pinned it.
Frank, why do you guys do the death? Why do you guys do the death penalty? Excuse me, it's the Americans that do that. We do actually want it back, especially in specific crimes. In fact, something that you're doing this week resorted to, we want it back, if you know what I mean. If you commit murder, I think eye for an eye, the Bible says it, and then you got to look at it as, you got someone who's killed like 3, 4 people, and they just get put in a room for the rest of their life. Come on, they're having a laugh. Do you know what I mean? Well, in answer to your question, Sleuth Mum, you are a liar.
Clue for liars.
That's not an answer to the question though. What?
We do. It is because we don't have the death penalty. We want it back. Do you know what I mean? But the question is, why do you have it? We don't have the death penalty. We wish we did since the Jamie Bulger murder. Since then, it's been begged for it to be back in some form of way. It's not there.
Okay.
I can't answer the
I
question.
say, Sleuth Mom, in answer to your question, you're a liar. I was like, huh? That's not an answer.
Exactly. In answer to your question, Sleuth Mom, you're a liar. Holiday for a few days turns out being a week. Huh.
That's actually probably a good thing. I personally, I don't even know how I feel about the death penalty because you find too many cases where people are proven innocent later and where they were obviously did not commit the crime, but it's too late because they've already been executed. So,
Derek Bentley, Savage. Derek Bentley. The reason the death penalty will never be reintroduced into the UK is because of Derek Bentley. He was, I don't know how to explain it. He could have been autistic. He had learning difficulties, major ones, and there was all different things. And basically, he was involved in a crime, and he was with an underage boy that was 16 who shot an officer and killed the officer. And he basically got the murder charge because he was with him and he was an adult. But he was, I think, he had the mental age of a child. I think he was autistic and he had epilepsy. So he shouldn't have been convicted of murder anyway because of them factors. But yeah, that's just a little side thing for you.
yeah, see, and you get cases like that, so where there's like these other little details in there, and it's like, oh my God, I mean, now for Ian and Myra, they deserved the death penalty. They should have gotten that.
Oh, that's the thing, though, Savvy. Just a couple of years later, they got caught. Do you know what I mean? Oh, if only they was caught. Because, like you said, didn't you say that? I think there's crimes linked back to the 60s with them. I think with Ian, definitely. I think Myra was just the young, pretty girl that come along, like Rose West. Young, pretty girl that come along and then took over.
No, I think she was a willing accomplice.
Yeah, she was definitely willing to come.
Yeah, because they were all freaky deaky when they were engaging in intimate relationships, and then he told her that he wanted to commit the perfect murder, and she's like, "Oh yeah, bud." So they went out and kind of cruised around to see if they could find their first victim. And I think the first one was a friend of her sister's. Yeah, it was a friend of her sister's. And she asked the girl if she would come out to the moors with her because she lost her glove. And the girl said, "Oh, sure," because this is the 60s and we trust all the people we know. And so once they got out there, I don't know if this was one where Ian was like in the back of the truck or if he followed on his motorcycle, because they did that a few times. So people, the kids would get in with Myra thinking that they were safe, and then Ian was following behind. But anyway, yeah, so go ahead and play the video.
All right.
Ian Brady and Myra Hindley are the pair responsible for some of England's most notorious murders. The two met while working at a chemical company in Manchester when Myra was just 17. Brady, who was 4 years older and born in Scotland, was notably intelligent. In his teen years, he began his criminal career, breaking into homes and burglarizing them. These acts would land him in a youth detention center as well as prison. There, the Marquis de Sade and Hitler would become keen interests for the young man. Hindley's childhood was marked by poverty and domestic violence, sometimes facing physical abuse herself. When she met Brady,
Now here's the thing that they made sure to point out that she had suffered abuse in her past. Like, I've noticed, so I guess this is not a new thing where people say, "Oh, I did this horrible stuff because of I had a bad childhood or whatever." So this has apparently been going on since the 20s, 30s, 60s or whatever.
she quickly became infatuated. Though early on, she did describe him as a crude, uncouth pig in her diary, he went on to become her Glaswegian lover. Some believe that Hindley developed folie à deux, a condition in which delusional beliefs are passed from a primary person to another within a close relationship. As Brady's morbid interests and disposition would soon transfer onto her, the two would eventually move in together into Hindley's grandmother's house in the town of Hattersley outside of Manchester, where they would commit some of the crimes that would earn them the title of British society's benchmark for evil, as dubbed by the BBC. On November 23, 1963, Brady and Finley found their first target, 12-year-old John Kilbride. John worked for pocket money at a market in Ashton-under-Lyne. He was hanging out with some friends there when Hindley approached him. She asked the boy for help in locating her missing glove on Saddleworth Moor outside of Manchester. John agreed, and they headed.
That's where he's buried, Sarge.
What?
You see the picture there?
Yeah.
Every picture they show you where it's on the moors, that's where they're buried.
Yeah. They actually took future victims out and picnicked on top of graves.
And they pose, they pose in the pictures. See how she's posing?
Mm-hmm.
Hang on, boy, me. And posing. She's definitely posing in that. So that there's a body there.
Yeah, they're sickos.
Is so.
Keith Bennett, I think, is the one they couldn't find, or he wouldn't tell where he was. The one with blonde hair,
with glasses.
Yeah, blonde hair, glasses.
But wiry glasses wore they?
I don't know.
Yeah, Keith was the one that he held on to, and he wouldn't tell them.
He's got, that's it, yeah.
Oh my God, his mom, years later, pleaded with Ian Brady to tell them where his body was.
She did it all her life, Cheri. She did it all her life. I believe she died of cancer.
Yeah, she died before, and he wouldn't say, even though she was dying when she asked him.
He didn't. He set a treasure hunt up. He told her. He says, if you get to the end of the treasure hunt, what's it called? You'll find your son. And then I think the police cut it off in the end and was like, no, enjoy the rest of your life, please. Because she had cancer. And I was like, no, we're not allowing this to continue. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They had to cut it off. But they allowed it for how many years?
Mm.
Yeah, he just sent them kind of
Sure.
wild goose chases about that particular boy.
I'll tell you what it looks
For
like.
more.
The Milky Bar.
There, Brady said.
Oh, sorry. Go on, Savage.
My bad. What were you saying?
I was just going to say, the young lad who it is, he reminds me of the Milky Bar kid. Do you know, like that sort of character?
Oh, okay, okay.
Who's the
Sexually
Milky Bar
assaulted the
kid?
young boy before using a string to strangle him. They buried his body in a shallow grave, but not before Brady snapped a picture of Hindley standing over it, holding her dog. A year after John was murdered, the vile couple preyed on their youngest victim, 10-year-old Leslie Ann Downey. The little girl was spending the day after Christmas at a fairground when the couple lured her away. Leslie Ann's death has become especially well known as the details are particularly gruesome. The horrifying final minutes of the girl's life were documented both in photographs and an audio recording that had later been found in 2 suitcases left in Manchester Central train station by Brady and Hindley. Photos reveal that Leslie Ann had been taken to their house where she was bound and gagged with a scarf. Brady took pornographic photos of her and sexually assaulted her. The heinous audio recording lasts an excruciating 16 minutes. On it, Leslie Ann can be heard begging for her life, crying for her mother, and asking God for help. Also heard on the recording are the voices of a man and woman which police believe belonged to Brady and Hindley. Chillingly, it's reported that little drummer boy can be heard playing in the background.
So that was their youngest victim, the Leslie Ann, and we just heard that it was audio recorded, and they took photos.
The snuff. That's the snuff type, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now this
Blood.
tape talking about this is the tape that caused the jurors to quit on the spot, right?
Yeah. Um, I'm being told I'm wrong on that. Multiple quit, but one committed. I'm sure one committed suicide. Will continue and committed suicide. Also, Sleuth Mum, you're on holiday. Go and take yourself back off into the trees, and we don't want to hear off you ever again until you're back. Thank you. Carry on, Savage.
All right. That's a good point, Elizabeth, about Folie à not lasting that long. It was my understanding that it's like a temporary thing too, because I clearly recall a story of twin sisters who were like running through traffic on the highway. They were like really fighting with the police and first responders who came to try to like get them out of traffic. It was like they were intent on just running blindly into traffic and hurting themselves. And it's like one of them had started acting weird that day, and it just kind of fell off onto the other one until they were both in this weird zone or whatever. But it wasn't like a permanent thing. It didn't last forever. However, I'll point out the case of these other twins, which it's never technically been called the Folie à Deux, but it kind of was. I cannot remember their names. It was the girls were Black and they would not speak to anyone else. They even actually created their own language that they only spoke to each other. And so throughout their lives, they weren't able to function one without the other. If you separated them, it was a horrible mess. If you put them together, it was a horrible mess. They were basically like, I'm sorry?
I've heard of that. Didn't when they found them, they eventually separated them, and one went into meltdown, and the other was like really like successful, and they had to bring them back together.
What happened for them to actually do that is at the end they were in a mental hospital together, and they kind of made a pact that the only way that either one of them could really live and enjoy life and prosper and be successful was for the other to die. And so one of them died. I don't remember if she killed herself or or if she just died. Like, you know, maybe they had this mind over matter thing. She wanted to die, so hey, she died. But one of them actually died, and that's how the other twin was able to finally have a successful independent life. And yes, it was Ursula and Sabina Erickson. That is, if you're not familiar with that story, look it up. It's all over YouTube. Most of the content on it is really good and informative. That was like a really crazy case. But I was saying, they've never actually said that that case was Folie à Deux, but it kind of seems like it could be like an extended episode of that, like a more permanent episode of that, since they both played off each other and their actions were so out of line with what we consider to be normal, till it's kind of like I don't know, some kind of psychosis. They were definitely different. I'll put it that way. So let's get back to the video.
After their youngest victim came their oldest victim. Edward Evans was a 17-year-old apprentice engineer. Brady went out on the night of October 6, 1965, with the object of committing a hate crime against a gay man. According to testimony, the idea was to rob the man in order to pay off some debts. That night, the couple didn't act alone. With them was Hindley's brother-in-law, David Smith, who was also just 17 at the time. Some sources report that Brady found Edward in one of Manchester's earliest gay bars, while others report he found him at the Manchester Central train station, possibly recognizing him from a gay bar. Edward was lured back to their house where Brady tried to rob him. However, Edward was presumably bigger and stronger than their previous victims, and he fought back. What happened next is disputed by both Brady and Smith. According to Brady, Smith started striking Edward. However, Smith stated that he was in the kitchen when he heard a very loud scream coming from the living room. There, he saw Edward lying halfway off the couch with Brady and Hindley in the room. Brady tried to quiet the boy, but when he didn't stop, he struck him around his head and shoulders with a hatchet. Brady didn't stop hitting the boy until he was quiet. At this point, Smith said that Brady took a cushion cover and wrapped it around Edward's head. He then grabbed a cord which he wrapped around his neck and strangled him. According to Smith, Brady looked up at Hindley, who was watching all of this, and stated, "That's it. It's the messiest yet." Smith then helped them clean up because he was scared stiff. After the room was clean, the trio had tea before Smith ran home. He and Hindley's little sister Maureen left their apartment to find a phone to call the police. Brady and Hindley were soon arrested. The police found Edward's body.
Now this is what I was talking about when I was saying, like, the stories don't match on what actually happened and who actually did what to the person that was murdered that night. And you're going to hear that in just a second. They're going to talk about it. So I don't know if it's a case where they really just did this in front of him and he was so terrified that he just kind of did what they said until he could get free to call the police and get help. Or did he actually willingly participate and then try to play a role so that he wouldn't be punished, you know, as if he were really in on it, so he could just like ease the burden on himself or get away with it.
Body in the couple's home. It's reported that a preteen neighbor led police to the moor as she had been taken there several times by the pair. The bodies of Leslie Ann Downey and John Kilbride were then found. The photo Brady took of Hindley over John's grave would be used to locate his remains. Leslie Ann's body had been found not far from him. She was still naked, save for her socks and shoes. The suitcases which contained the horrifying evidence of her capture and murder, along with books on torture, were also discovered at the train station after the claim ticket had been found in the spine of a prayer book in Hindley's possession. The couple faced 7 charges in total. Each was charged for the murders of Leslie Ann Downey, John Kilbride, and Edward Evans, and Hindley was also charged as an accessory to John's murder for harboring Brady after the killing. The two would plead innocent at their trial, which began on April 19, 1966, and lasted 14 days. Psychologists would state that the pair showed no signs of being capable of having empathy. During Smith's testimony, he stated that prior to Edward's death, Brady told him that he'd already killed 3 or 4 others. The New York Times reported that Hindley stared at Smith, unflinchingly, as he gave his testimony. The horrific 16-minute audio recording of Leslie Ann before her death was played.
Can you imagine being on the witness stand and she's just staring at you like that?
Creepy.
Beyond creepy. Like she looks like she was fully on board. I think I might have changed my testimony if I looked up and saw that. But yeah, you see where the kind of confusion comes in, where they're saying, like, one of them is saying one thing happens and the other is saying something else happens. And so I don't think they'll ever really know what actually happened in that house that night.
Yeah, that's true. But Myra was trying to CYA, you know.
Trying to see what now?
CYA.
Yeah, true.
She's trying to get her charges lessened.
Yeah, she definitely tried to play the victim, but she was really a willing participant. And I think that's kind of what happened with Edward too. I think he was trying to play the victim, like, you know, hey, I was just minding my business, and next thing I know, they're killing somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So I was terrified, but really, he was probably in on it too. Just like Ian said, that Edward was the one who actually attacked that person.
Yeah, but like with Leslie Ann Downey, I saw where Myra said that she went out to the bathroom. She was drawing a bath for Leslie, you know, because she was so caring. And when she came back, she was dead. It's just, oh. But the thing is that her brother-in-law helped them on several other occasions. He just wasn't there for the absolute gruesome stuff.
Oh, so he did help him on other occasions besides just this one.
Yeah, because one of the documentaries I watched, Ian was talking to him about, they had all kinds of weird world views, and the brother-in-law agreed with them. So they went out and started getting him involved, not with the murders, but they got him involved with, you know, just drinking and getting high and getting him like part of the group. They even tried to get Myra's sister involved, and she said, no, I don't want to hang out with you guys.
Okay. Thanks for those details, because they didn't tell a lot of extraneous details in this video. They kind of really focused on how they got caught and gave the basic outlines of the story. So that makes it even more interesting, though.
Yeah, but
unflinchingly, as he.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. Yeah, I guess this is a pretty short video because they haven't mentioned Keith Bennett, the blonde-haired kid with glasses.
They will.
They will?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this is more like trial part.
Yeah, this was more. The title of the video is actually "The Moors Murderers and How They Got Caught."
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it's not really focusing on like the details of the murders. It's giving you enough to get a good picture of what kind of people you were dealing with, but it's really not so much about the murders as it was about them getting caught.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty gross.
Gave his testimony. The horrific 16-minute audio recording of Leslie Ann before her death was played in court. Brady was found guilty on all murder counts while Hindley was acquitted in the case of John Kilbride. but she was found guilty of being an accessory to John's murder as well as guilty for the murders of Leslie Ann and Edward. On May 6, 1966, Ian Brady and Myra Hindley were sentenced for the crimes they committed, both receiving life sentences for Downey and Evans. Brady received an additional life sentence for Kilbride, and Hindley received a 7-year concurrent sentence for her involvement. Judge Fenton interesting statement regarding Hindley. Though I believe that Brady is wicked beyond belief, without hope of redemption, I cannot feel the same is necessarily true of Hindley once she is removed from his influence. According to Hindley, she had a job in the killings. She was responsible for kidnapping the children. She stated that she never actually killed or sexually assaulted them, blackmailed and beaten her into compliance, stating that he had an immense influence over her. In the 1980s, news broke that Brady and Hindley were not responsible for the death of 3 children.
Yeah, my system's running a little bit slow, but yeah, she definitely tried to play the victim. But you could kind of see that from the beginning of the video when it talked about how she was abused as a child, because the only place they would have gotten that from is from her.
But what gets me is that she all of their victims she lured. One of the kids was she was asking him to help her load some stuff in her car. The other one of the victims was at the fair and they dropped their groceries and they asked her to come help them. One of them, actually I think 2 of them, they used that, oh, I lost my glove on the moor and I need help finding it. You know, it's just, she was not a victim. She was not, she was complacent in this. Bye, Sleuth.
Sleuth, come back. Love you. We'll see you tomorrow. Elizabeth says, I believe Frank said he had a mental issue of some sort, so they couldn't. And back then, women weren't really put to death. They thought we were too weak and incapable. And you're right, they did. Most women back then were not put to death. And you can see that the judge kind of was lenient toward her and sympathetic towards her, like, oh, I don't think she's such a bad person. He basically called the guy the devil and told her, well, you just kind of fell under the devil's influence, but I think you're a pretty good person, which is basically what he said.
Yeah, exactly. She got at 25 years, they were supposed to let her out. But then some magistrate or something said, oh, no. And he actually extended it by another 5 years before she was even eligible to look at parole.
Well, that's a good thing. Thank God somebody had sense. And yeah, she probably was. They both sound like they were psychopaths or sociopaths, or maybe one of each. Of course, there's really not a whole lot of difference between a psychopath and a sociopath. It's really just a construct, so they're essentially the same thing.
But rather 5 after they revealed 2 more victims. The 2 additional children had been missing since the mid-60s. Police immediately began searching the moor for their bodies, even taking Brady and Hindley out of prison to assist in the search. One of the victims was actually their first, predating John Kilbride's death. Their first kill happened on the evening of July 12, 1963. 16-year-old Pauline Reed was making her way to a dance when she ran into Hindley. She asked the teenage girl for help 4 months later on John. As Hindley was actually an acquaintance of Pauline, the trusting girl obliged. She was taken to the moor, and there she was struck over the head and slashed in the throat twice. One of the cuts was particularly large, and a pathologist would note that the collar of her coat and a chain appeared to be intentionally stuffed into the wound, potentially to stymie the massive bleeding. Party dress and heels, which remained intact for over 20 years. The other victim was 12-year-old Keith Bennett. He had been missing since 1994, placing his murder between John and Leslie Ann. Keith was near his grandmother's house in Manchester when he disappeared. Hindley spotted the boy and asked him to help her load boxes into her car. Sadly, Keith's remained trying to find him. She'd go searching the moor by herself with only a spade for assistance. In prison, Hindley became a born-again Christian and would spend years trying to obtain parole, often with help from men in high places. However,
Isn't it funny how they go to prison for all these horrible things and then suddenly I'm saved? Like, I believe anybody can be saved or get saved, but it's just miraculous how many people, like these people, like him, just miraculously are suddenly saved. And then sometimes it actually works for them and they get out and you find out that it was just a sham the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, makes me think of Don Wells. But anyway.
Now, that's somebody I've talked about in a long time. Good old Don Wells. Reverend Don. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy, but it's just another aspect of that manipulative personality, that they use. It's just like a game for them. Oh, I see. Because like in prison, honestly, in prison, inmates who the guards see as really being saved, they get a little bit more respect. They get treated a little more respectfully. You'll hear guards telling them yes, ma'am, or no, sir, or whatever, as opposed to inmate, convict, or whatever they're yelling at the other people. So it could start out with some of them, and probably with him, as a manipulative way to try to get more favor on the compound, and also in the long run to work it to his advantage for an early release.
Exactly. Yeah. I agree with that.
And D-Tim, I'm going to write down that name because I want to find out about that guy.
Louis Garavito, yeah.
Yeah. Killed 400 kids, and the only thing keeping him in prison is that he owes money. That's crazy. Okay, he killed 172 and SA'd 400. That's still, wow. That's beyond words.
That's almost Harold Shipman.
Jeez. All right, I'm not going to play too much more. I'm not going to play any more of this video because my system is starting to slow down and I'm going to have to refresh it. Also, I have another live coming up in about 5 minutes. So whenever we finish this, then I'm going to restart and come back so that we can talk about the whites and the great escape from Lauderdale County Jail.
Yes.
That saga has just been going on and on. Like, I'm really surprised they aren't caught by now. That's what took me so long to even cover their case, because I just assumed that they were going to get caught fairly quickly.
Yeah, it's just it's a spider web of stuff.
Yeah,
with. Yeah. With the lingerie and the batteries.
What I think I'm going to do is we're just going to shift gears. I'm not even going to worry with like starting a whole new live or whatever. So we're just going to like shift gears, and I can refresh this computer in the background because my channel Angel blessed me with a tablet, so I can still keep talking.
Cool beans.
Yes. But yeah, that case, man. So I guess the main thing that I wanted to talk about them was, and not to just drop the last subject. I kind of y'all gotta forgive me because my mind be moving at a different speed than my mouth. And that's a regular thing. So sometimes my mouth will get away from my brain, and sometimes my brain will get away from my mouth. I'm not sure what happened just then, but one of the two, I guarantee you. But yeah, these murders, the Moores murders, I did see that there are some more, like there is some more stuff on YouTube about it. I believe I also saw a Wikipedia page on it. So if it's something that you're interested in and would like to get to know more details about the actual case and like what went on before them getting caught, because this video really was mostly about them getting caught. I did see some videos pop up that said like part 1, part 2, or whatever. So there are definitely some series out there that probably go more in depth into the Moores murders. I'm probably gonna check some of them out myself because this couple was.
Oh, the details are, I mean, most of these things, just because I've watched probably 3 or 4 different documentaries on them, and they're the reason that people still refer to them as the most gruesome, couple murderers in England.
I can imagine. I mean, they look like they had a whole lot going on mentally. They just look like they did.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, so now I can transition over. Okay. The as Great Escape. So one thing that's kind of been sticking out to me is the police are saying they feel like ditching the car was not planned, that they had some type of mechanical breakdown and were essentially forced to ditch the car. Here's the thing though. I would think that an unexpected mechanical breakdown would have thrown some kind of monkey wrench in their plans, because how would they get away from there? How did they get away from there? If somebody gave them a ride, they're all over the news now. So someone would have said, hey, I remember picking this couple up over that way. This really tall guy, really short girl, or maybe it was just her and he hid off in the bushes until she went and got another car and came back to get him or something. But I don't even think that would be a possibility. But I think that it was planned. I think that they intended to ditch that car and that either someone was in the area waiting for them or they had another vehicle somewhere in the area waiting for them. I don't think anything about anything that's going on with them is accidental.
No, not at all. Well, part of Casey's resume was carjacking. So if that were the case, if they did break down and he had the skills to carjack somebody, but I really think it was like a decoy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you said, maybe they had somebody there waiting for them, or maybe she had stashed another car for them to drive away. But I mean, come on, you buy a copper colored car. Hello, see me.
And see, another thing is that oh God, I lost my train of thought just that fast.
Sorry.
We were talking about the copper colored car and I forgot. Keep talking, Cheri. I'll figure it out in a minute.
You were talking about that you don't think that they broke down. That.
Oh yeah, distractions. Like I think that they did it this way so that it, to give the impression that they were traveling in a certain direction,
Mm-hmm.
and they're actually headed in the entirely opposite direction. Like either they're heading south to Florida, or they're heading south to Mexico, or maybe they started heading northwest, going, making their way to the Canadian border or something. But I don't think that they're heading in the direction that the police are thinking they did, based on like where they found the car and all these other things.
Yeah,
I think it was an intentional distraction.
Mm-hmm. So do I. Of course, there's a lot of speculation going off on Twitter and Facebook and whatnot. But somebody was saying that Casey has ties to like an Aryan Brotherhood or something like that in Tennessee. And if they're, what's that?
I did hear that same thing.
Mm-hmm. So, they're preppers, and oh my God, it just makes me think of all those stories where, the guys they build bunkers, they dig these deep holes like for years and years, and you can't even see the entrance to it, if it's one of those scenarios, we may never find them.
Yeah, because if they are preppers, and she seems to be very good at planning, so once they get underground, they probably wouldn't have to come out for years.
Exactly. Well, and the thing is that, now they're wondering if she knew him before 2020. Because, when he was in jail in 2020, and he was transported to a different facility, she would call him all the time. And then they had this ruse that, he confessed to this murder, and they had to move him to, what is it called, Lauderdale? Because his attorney couldn't bring his laptop in to go over his case with him. They wouldn't let him bring his laptop into that prison. So he had to be transferred over to where Vicky was again. And voila.
Yeah, that whole story, man, there's something really, really going on with that. And I can't wait. I really can't wait for them to get caught, because I'm ready for some the details to come out, and just to be able to finally understand how exactly it was planned out and how it was done.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to wait for the Netflix movie.
I hope not.
No. Well, the arrest affidavit should give us some details of the probable cause and all of that if they do find them. But yeah, I mean, Frank had an idea about that little Ford that they were driving that they spray painted. He had this idea that it may have been spray painted by an accomplice so that they knew that was the car they were supposed to take. Bueller. Yeah, Savage.
Oh, can you hear me?
Here you are. Yeah, what's going on? Tim, the new Tiger King of Netflix. Oh, I hope it's just that juicy and tiger's milk at 3 a.m.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. I figured out how to switch devices in the middle of a stream, but I apparently messed up the audio right there. So.
Oh, okay.
But I'm getting better. I'm learning.
Yay! I have to learn.
Because that device is dying.
So anyway, Frank was saying that maybe they spray painted the car because an accomplice was saying, did that for them so that they knew which vehicle they were supposed to take.
Yeah, that's possible. I really thought all along that they've had somebody else helping them, because like she could handle the part as far as getting him out of the jail. That would be her turf 100%. But all the rest of this stuff, she parked the car at this one place. Then she spent the night at a hotel that was maybe a half mile away. She could have walked feasibly, because she could have walked from the car to the hotel, but it seems like she's got some kind of problem with her leg or her hip, so I don't think that happened. She wouldn't have used Uber because that's a paper trail.
Yeah, because you need a debit card or something for that. But You know, what gets me is that she parked her cruiser in basically a car dealership, you know, just one of those rent-a-wreck kind of things.
Yeah.
And evidently the person there said, yeah, you know, she bought this car. But I'm thinking, because now they were looking at an SUV. They found that SUV that they think is connected to them.
Now, I saw a blurb about that, but I couldn't catch the story in time, and I haven't been able to find it again. Did you read that?
Yeah, I like I said, I just caught a blurb of it, that it wasn't like an actual presser or anything. It was just kind of a, you know, Tennessee police find SUV linked to Vicky and Casey White. So I don't know about that, but if she's been planning this for years, she could have cars all over the place.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She could have them, you know, could have had one stashed where the copper car broke down.
Yeah.
And then, you know, switched out to a truck or an SUV and then left that somewhere. And they're following these things like breadcrumbs. And if it were me, like you were saying, I would go the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
I would totally, you know, if they do have an accomplice, they might even have an accomplice doing that, where they weren't even in those cars. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it would make sense that he would know at least one person with his track record who would be willing to help with something like that for the right price. And for somebody like that, sometimes the right price is $1,000, you know?
Exactly. Well, you know, and then there's his like half brother who went missing. I'm doing air quotes, went missing in 2017. What if half brother went off to prepare some doomsday bunker for them? Oh my
Yeah,
God.
she's a meticulous planner, so it's possible. Anything is possible. She has forethought for sure.
Oh, yeah. This is like, it's going to be interesting. Yeah. A white Bronco chase. Can you imagine how much drama that would be now? That was a really slow chase.
Yes, very so. I don't even think we should consider that one a chase. It was more like a walkthrough.
It was crazy. And, you know, gosh, nowadays we have women allowed to sit on the couch for so long they melt into it. And then
that's crazy. That story.
Oh my goodness. And then we have, you know, Vicky and Casey, the new Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, the headlines are something else lately. You know what I was thinking though? When they referred to an SUV being found associated with them, they could have been talking about that Ford Edge, because I think the Ford Edge is considered a subcompact SUV.
Oh, it could be. I keep saying they're in a Ford Escape. Get it?
Yeah, I know. It's so tempting to want to say that. Because I kept saying an escape, and it was like, no, it's an edge, No, it's an escape because they got away.
Right, exactly. I love when you have to explain jokes to people. But I'm a huge geek anyway. But
yes.
It's
kind of second nature to me to explain jokes, because I have a sense of humor that a lot of people don't get. When I find someone who gets my humor, I know that I found a friend for life.
Yep, I love your humor. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, I can't wait to see how this plays out. I can't wait until they're caught, and I just really can't believe it's taking this long. I really cannot believe that. Like, ever since they first said that, you know, whatever, and I was like, oh, she helped them. Every time it comes on or there's a blurb about it, I'm expecting it to say busted, caught, found.
Yeah, but no, it's not. You know what blows me away is that the sheriff goes, Yes, she was using aliases. It was like, did we know this before? Or is this something new? You know?
I don't think. I don't know. That sheriff is so nonchalant. He's so cool. Like, but I don't. I don't know. This might be beyond him.
You know, honestly, I don't think the sheriff is really hands-on in the investigation. I just think because he's at the top of the food chain, so they're letting him do the press conferences. Because, like he said, oh yeah, I can't remember the name of the street.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like this is a little out of his league. And like, I mean, he's a small town sheriff, so that's not disparaging him. This isn't something that pops up every day in his neck of the woods.
No, exactly. I mean, you know, a murder here and there. Okay, we can handle that. But something like one of his trusted long-term employees, who is the
Yeah.
associate director of the facility, decides that she's going to take this absolute monstrous
Monster.
man, you know, and just escape with him. And did it in such a way that it makes them look like, what are those things called? Keystone cops.
Yeah.
You know, where they're all running around and bumping into each other and
Chasing their tails and not knowing anything.
exactly. And that's kind of, you know, what they look like now. But, you know, gosh, everybody knows everybody, and it's like Mayberry RFD, you know. And so her putting him in a car might not have been all that strange to them.
It's possible that it wasn't, because that is a small place and they're probably not used to having such a high profile or high security inmate like that who's, you know, but still they've got protocols. And he's not, okay, he's not from there, from Lauderdale County, right? He's from somewhere in Tennessee. But I wonder if he spent enough time there to be familiar with enough people that they would consider him like a local by adoption or something.
That's the impression I get, is that he's a local person or whatever.
Yeah, so he gets that same treatment as like the kid you grew up with all your life down the road or something by default, because he's been around so long. And so that's where that comfort level, that laxity came from.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I mean, Vicky, you know, she's like employee of the year 4 years running or something. And, you know, maybe it wasn't unusual for her. Maybe it wasn't unusual for her to give out extra biscuits and cans of beefaroni.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm in love for an extra biscuit.
I know, right? That old Meatloaf song was, "I'd do anything for love, but I won't do that."
Yeah, I don't know. There was another thought that I had, but it kind of flew off in the wind. I need to start writing stuff down. Either that or I need to dye my roots black.
Oh, my hair is turning naturally silver.
Mine is too, and I'm loving it.
I wish they would all just agree and do it at the same time. But yeah, Liz, I think you're right. The Aryan Brotherhood, they you know, dude had that tat on his back. So you know he's tight with them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a thought that I had, too, when they were talking about him being in prison and that he had got shanked twice and he didn't want to be there. He was afraid for his life and stuff. And I wonder if at the time that he got shanked, he wasn't associated or affiliated. And then he became affiliated in order to, you know, be protected from being attacked.
Could be.
But then again, that tattoo doesn't look any kind of fresh. It looks like he's had it for a long time.
Yeah, so he probably went in with it. With
Yeah.
the affiliations and the ink and everything.
Maybe that's why he was attacked. I don't think they ever gave out much information on the circumstances of him being stabbed in prison.
No, I haven't heard of the circumstances, just that he was shanked a couple times. And if that was the case, then yeah, I mean, because there are people that don't like the AB,
Hmm.
like anybody with critical thinking skills. I didn't say that.
Like, I mean, I don't know. I feel kind of messed up because I'm looking at this whole thing like anxious for the next episode, like it's a soap opera or something. So I kind of feel bad about that. But at the same time, the way it's playing out, it's like it's like you learn just enough to speculate something, but not quite come to a conclusion. And every time they come out with new information, it's just enough to speculate and not quite come to a conclusion.
Exactly. Exactly. I think if they actually had enough information or evidence or whatever, I mean, because she spent the night in the hotel Thursday by herself. Thursday, she took him out Friday. Like, why? Was that after her shopping trip for batteries and big and tall men's clothes?
Yeah. And then, well, I think it said she actually spent 2 nights in that hotel.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, it came out recently because they were showing video of her checking out that Friday before she went to work. And they were saying that she had spent 2 nights in there. So she spent that Wednesday night and that Thursday night.
Oh. Maybe because didn't she live with her mom? She was staying
Mm-hmm.
with her mom after she sold her house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe she did that just so mom didn't get all mom on her, you know. Where are you going?
Yeah,
What are
because
you
you know
doing?
our
What are you
mamas can
doing?
read us.
Oh, yeah.
Why you acting so strange? I'm not acting strange, Mama. Yes, you have. I've known you since before you were born. Don't tell me.
Mm-hmm.
I can hear it.
That's right. I gave you your heartbeat. I know what's going on with you.
So yeah, maybe she was hiding out from mom to keep from breaking or whatever.
It could be. And she did it before Mother's Day. How sucky is that?
That really is so sad. Like, it's not like he was gonna leave anytime soon. She could have done it Monday or something.
Right? Well, I don't know. What's in Harrison, Arkansas, bushes?
Harrison, Arkansas.
Yeah, she said they're likely heading to Harrison, Arkansas.
Oh, let me Google it. Let's see what's up with Harrison, Arkansas.
Yes, yes.
Harrison, Arkansas. I don't even think I ever heard of that.
Uh-uh.
Because I haven't heard of many places in Arkansas. So that doesn't mean a whole lot.
If she's got aliases and she's been a corrections officer, law enforcement, whatever, for 18, 20 years, you know she knows some people that can do fake passports and driver's licenses and things like that. So I don't think it would be that big of a deal for her to have passports and ID for her and Casey.
Apparently, there's clan ties. Very strong clan reputation there.
Oh.
I Googled it and I got like a Wikipedia. Then I got the city homepage, an Explore Harrison, and then I got Wikipedia entries won't let Harrison shed its past. For months, the city has been trying to remove clan references from the Harrison, Arkansas article on Wikipedia. So maybe that ties in with the Aryan Brotherhood thing, the white supremacy thing.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Is that what you're suggesting, Liz?
Yeah, look one down. She says it's clan headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're probably right. But I mean, if we're armchair detectives, and I think that would be way too obvious. Of course, it could be Occam's razor. You know, it's the simplest explanation, so it's probably correct.
It might be way too obvious to some, like specialized agents in different law enforcement agents. But I never thought that, and I never would have knew it. If you'd asked me, I'd have swore that the Klan headquarters was somewhere in the southern states, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, something like that. So maybe there's enough people who wouldn't be aware of something like that or wouldn't make that connection off top.
True. I live in Richmond, Virginia, and they were all proud of being the capital of the Confederacy, and we have Jefferson Davis Highway and all that. And then you saw during the Black Lives Matter when they were tearing down Lee's statue, we had a whole street of monuments to Civil War people. And it's all slowly going away, but yeah, I mean, Arkansas, okay.
Yeah, I never would have thought there was anything worth talking about in Arkansas. I just think tumbleweeds when I think of places out west like that. I'm kind of silly though, but yeah, I think tumbleweeds, literally.
Yeah.
I guess I am going to get off of here. We've been on here, coming up on hour and 45 minutes.
My goodness. I've enjoyed it. Thank you. It's good experience.
I certainly have.
Yes.
And Frank, if you're still out there, thanks for joining. Thanks for telling me about the Moores murders. I never would have heard of that. I really am. I would like to hear more stories from across the pond.
Yes, indeed. Liz, that's true. Anywhere there's woods and mountains, there's weirdos. Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get off of here for the night. I did, guys, in the description, you'll see I dropped the link for the merch store. There's some stuff up there that I just did, and then tomorrow I'm gonna work on some Be Their Voice merch.
Oh, nice.
I actually made a whole line of Be Their Voice merch, and then something went wonky with my browser, and so all the items disappeared. And I was just like, I got so angry that I just was not gonna sit down and do all that again.
Yes.
I had done like sweaters and hoodies and iPhone cases and pillows and hats, and then it was just gone. I was like, you know what? Yeah, so tomorrow I'll sit down and I'll work on the Be Their Voice merch. So there is some stuff up there now if you want to check it out and see. And then there's something with Streamlabs, but I have no idea. And if I can figure out what that is, I remember designing it and it's all there, but where, I don't know. If I can figure out where it's at, I'll post a link to that too.
Okay. Hey, thanks everybody for joining tonight. Remember to hit the like on the way out and share out so that Savage can get her last. How many do we need? 30 something?
I need 64 last count.
64. Okay. She needs a community wall, so we need to get her up to 500 subs.
And you will be seeing a lot more of me until we get that community wall, and after then too. But I mean, you'll just be seeing a lot more of me. I do have a live schedule for tomorrow. Tomorrow I will be presenting a few missing person flyers tomorrow night, and then there's a case that I came across of a guy who just keeps disappearing from Staten Island.
What?
Yeah, it's weird.
That sounds interesting.
I will see you guys tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Good night, and thank you again, Cheri.
Good night. Thanks, Savage. Night, everybody.